What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man. I'm super happy to be back. I'm happy that you are here listening, and I thank you again for listening, and I appreciate the fact that you are where you are right now, looking to hear something, achieve something, get some golden nuggets, and then go use them. No, I didn't say chicken nuggets. Patty. No McDonald's. I hope you're having a great day, and if you're not, just remember it's the thoughts in our head. We really need to calm them down or learn how to just shut them off, right? When we get to that level, we're at the Jedi mind master. Now, I feel like I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen the promised land, but it's very hard unless you're practicing it on a daily. And so the other things that you can do, take a couple deep breaths, do some physical biohacking, jump in the ice bath, take a cold shower, do some jumping jacks. Jumping jacks, I think, are the most underrated exercise. And just do something like that, right? Change the thought, change the feeling in the moment. Some days are easier than others. Other days are harder than not, right? Or harder than the easier days. But at the same time, it's just another day. So let's get to it. For this episode, I want to talk about self-audit. Now, for the longest weeks, I don't know, 6+ weeks, I've been on the minimum game, right? So the understanding is like, I looked at myself, I saw a picture. Patty and I went jogging, okay? So jogging, but with those silent Y. If anybody has seen the Anchorman, that's a reference to the jogging. Patty and I went jogging one day, and she took like a quick video clip, which I'll actually put the link to the video clip on the description of the podcast. So you can actually see what I saw. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, God damn. I was like, what is going on? I looked I looked skinny and very emaciated, I guess is what Patty calls it. And I just didn't like the physical appearance. And not just in terms of like, oh, look at me, my physical appearance, more of just like, what is going on here? Because I feel like there's a level that I've attained. There's a level that I want to continue achieving, and then there's a level that I'd like to be at, and physically, like not just visually, like visually, like I guess visual was the medium to be able to identify that there was something that I was lacking, right? And so this podcast, I want to talk about self-auditing, okay? Like being honest with ourselves and then actually having the time to, even with myself right now, I'm going to get to the point because you can even hear it in my breath now. A couple times I'm like, I just did my minimums for pull-ups, so I am a little short breath. And then also, here's my big aha moment. I'm going to hit you with the big aha moment first, and then we're going to go down the line in terms of how I got there. Take a deep breath. Okay. So my big aha moment is, even though I've been doing well in crushing my physical, crushing the mobility ice bath. Now, the ice bath helps with what I'm about to say. But recently, I feel like my biggest thing that I need to work on is now being able to get out of fight or flight mode. Like my entire day is constant, especially if like there are things that I need to get done, and there are multiple things, right? Like for everybody, there's multiple things that we got to get done between work or running your business, the kids, your partner, paying bills, doing laundry. Laundry always gets done. There's a multitude of things that need to go on, reading email, and there's certain scenarios that like more like are more, or there's more situations for individuals based on what you're deciding to do with your life. But overall, in general, there's definitely a lot more to do, or potential things that you have to do and can do now more than ever, right? And so I've realized that there's been, and I think this is cyclical for me. And again, this is what we talk about, right? Like most things in our life are become cyclical until we identify it. And one, we identify it as a good cycle and we continue to do so, or as a negative cycle, or something that we don't want to, like a situation that we don't want to be in, and then change the action, the influence, the thought, the emotion, and then the action around that decision to then change the cycle and get into something else. For me, I feel like this flight or fight mode continuously, like if there's 24 hours in a day, I'm sleeping for 8. I'm working, and here's another thing on the other side, I'm working towards doing more of the sleep cycle. Like I'm looking into an Oura Ring. I know the iPhone also does that. The iWatch also does that, or the Apple Watch. in terms of tracking your sleep. So that's on the next list that I'd like to do, is really start tracking my sleep. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm in flight or fight mode when I'm sleeping, but I'm sure there's some days that I am. Other than that, when I wake up, I've tried to, for the first hour, not talk and just kind of slow my roll down, but I have not been doing that consistently, and I haven't done it in the last couple of weeks. So that is something that I'm going to be mindful of and try to implement, because I know it's kind of like jumping in the ice bath. I know it's going to be, in the long run, better for me in terms of health. My only reasoning, or I guess my only question to myself, is like, why haven't I then dedicated enough of that time like I do ice bath? Especially if I know, and I'm going to tell you how I know that I believe this is what I'm self-analyzing and prognosis myself in terms of what's been going on, again, based on this self-audit and a couple other factors. So going back, been crushing the minimums, been crushing the mobility, been crushing the ice bath. The breath work is something that I continue to do here and there, but not how I used to do it before. Like, my breath work game was on point previously, and I think that also helped in terms of my flight or fight mode, continuous fight or flight mode throughout the day. So that's something that I've self-audit, right? I've self-analyzed. I'm like, I'm doing a little bit more of this and less of X, right? Which is more of the breathwork type stuff. The last couple of days, last couple of weeks, just because there are a lot of things going on, and not necessarily negative or, again, everything works out for a benefit, which is another thing that I've been really honing on to. There's just been a lot, right? Between things that are happening in the personal life, things that are happening with kids, things that are happening with family, trips that we're planning, things that we're doing for the business, progression, right? Like this growth phase in terms of what everyone goes through. So there's quite a bit happening all at once. And I find myself, or I've found myself in the last couple of days, as after doing the self-audit, that my mind is racing to get all of these things done. And my breath is shallow, meaning that I'm in this fight or flight mode. Like I'm literally in all day, every day, just in like a either I'm running away or I'm taking this shit, head on. But it's either or. And I know that that's definitely causing a stressor, and I can feel it. Like I can feel it in my chest, just causing a fucking stressor on my organs, my heart, my blood flow. So much to the point where, like, today I felt like my tingling again on my left side of my arm, and that's definitely not good. So I know that I need to work on that. So the point being, the macro level is self-audit. Okay, so you may be going through something very similar. Maybe it is the similar fight or flight mode that you kind of find yourself in just on a daily, because that's how you've been, I don't want to say, to a certain extent programmed, right? I feel like the influence and things that I've been through and just how I have been for the last fill in the blank years, it's just my auto response to similar situations and how I respond, right? This is now part of my priority. Like, now that I'm aware of this, and I'm even more aware of it, it is now in the forefront of how do I then start changing my influence and I guess the value I have to then change the decision I make to make sure that it becomes more important to me in the action that I'm doing. And that's what I'm going to continue to work on with this mindfulness. I think mindfulness is going to be the way. Doing a little bit more meditation, doing a little bit more of putting on some sort of relaxful music. I feel like I've been on my phone a lot more than when I started like 2 years ago when I finally got a phone. I feel like I'm always attached to it now, which is kind of fucking crazy. Because when I first got it, I was like, I don't want to be on it all this time. And like I would be on it and then I'd put it away and not touch it. So I'm going to work on a couple of things to ensure that I lower, I guess, my mental psychology of all these things that I need to get to right away, or the things I need to check. Where am I at here? Where am I at there? That's what I'm gonna work on personally. So my suggestion to you would be to self-audit, to really think, what is it that I know I need to work on? And it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be emotional. And I believe it's like once you start with the most immediate thing right now, then it's a progression of different things, right? Then once you master X. So for me in the example, it's like once I've mastered my mobility, ice bath, getting my minimums, my physical minimums every day, it now puts me in a position where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get those things done anyway because it's become part of who I am. Now, what do I need to work on to then get to the next level, right? And for me, again, I've identified it as I got to work on slowing myself down, taking the breath, and then really putting time into lowering my heartbeat is what it comes down to as a macro. Because if not, even though I'm doing all these other things to reverse my age or longevity or biohack, this is gonna be like a master controller of my health and then how long I live. Because I want to live for a very long time, and I don't want to live, but I don't want to be able to like thrive and move and still be around. So like here mentally, physically, and emotionally. So again, this, the concept here is doing a self-audit, really figuring out what is it that you need. What is it that you're either dealing with? Is it being short with your loved one, with your family, or your other half, exploding, getting upset, or maybe it's thinking you're not good enough. That's self-talk. Maybe it's a visual self-talk. You don't think that you're good enough, or you don't look good enough. Like, what are the things that is probably something that's detrimental to you, or whether it's your psyche or your health, and self-audit, like really have a internal conversation with yourself. And it takes time. Like if I didn't have the ability, and again, it's funny because like we all do it. We all have internal conversations with ourselves, but how much of it do we listen to, and how much of it do we acknowledge, and how much of it are we actually reflecting on, and then trying to actually figure out what the fuck is wrong with us? Like what is wrong with me and what do I need to fix? And so I encourage you to take that time. I encourage you to think about that. There's different mediums. You can journal. You can shoot a video journal. You can type it up. Maybe write, start your own podcast. You can also do blog posts, things like that. Something where like at least you have time to self-reflect, interpret these things, these thoughts, and then move forward and maybe come up with some actionable items. Really, and remember, it's figuring out. For me, in this example, it's valuing or putting the same value that I have in terms of getting into the ice bath as my 2 to 5 to 6 minutes of mental reset or mindfulness to relax my body. And I'm going to continue to say this. The podcast is something that helps me, right? Because right now, like if you were to go back and listen to how I started the podcast and how I feel now and my voice and even my breathing, there's a little bit of a difference. And so these things are important to me, and I hope they're important to you. I want to see you be happy. I want to see you feel amazing and live a long, amazing life. Okay, so keep on it. It takes time, it takes patience. Keep crushing it. I'm going to see you guys on the next one. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.